Hello and welcome back to the universe of God. Here's where we discover it and then we uncover it. This is part 2 of the Age of Aquarius in the Galactic plane, and we're going to pick back up where we left off. And we were talking about the crossings and some of the upheaval due to the galactic alignment that is taking place, or that has taken place. So, the Bible, it talks about birth pains and travailing of the earth in the last days. And these weather changes and the global catastrophes, they're very much like the birth pains of our planet as it crosses the galactic plane, either upward on the sine wave or downward on the sine wave or frequency. These calamities, however, may not be isolated to just crazy weather on Earth, but it could be associated with outside atmospheric interferences, such as a massive fireball coming into orbit. So we must think of the logic in our planet traveling on a different frequency through the galaxy on the spiraling arm, and how the movement of our travels could bring interference in our orbit and attract different things like meteorites and other space debris into our atmosphere. Cyclically, as we make our way through the galactic crossings, humans cycle through what is anciently referred to as the golden and dark ages. These are ages of time that were known to our ancient ancestors, and astrologically it can be associated with or marked out like the celestial clock ticking away and recorded in ancient calendars. Think of the sine wave going up and down as it alternates through currents of positive and negative energy, receiving either detrimental or bad energy or beneficial good energy, also known as golden and dark ages of time, where we receive what we are due based off of who we are and have become as a planet, as well as individually, moving above or below the galactic plane, meaning we're either enjoying floods of light or dark. We're either basking in good energy, the golden age, or we're being stripped and deprived of good energy, like the dark age. Some would say this energy tells us whether we are becoming more like God or more like the beasts, being brutish and animalistic and anti-God or anti-Christ. And I would add that. This is all relative. It's very important. And if it's true, which I believe it is, this is proof that we are all connected and responsible in some manner as to the path of this planet. That means we are all in more control than we realize, and taking a backseat is far more costly than we could have ever imagined. And I must say that, there's a lot of, as we move more towards, governmental control, new world order, these are not conspiracy theories. These are realities that we're experiencing. We're witnessing them taking place. We as individuals are pushed to taking a back seat, in terms of the authority, control, and power that we have. And again, this is far more costly than we could have ever imagined. When we relinquish our freedom, our rights, while we're free, to a new order in the world, that is all about, just compliance and, a type of martial law mentality, we're being conformed into a mentality that really, it doesn't promote freedom, and it doesn't, because how are you free to, how are you free to believe differently or have different ideas and perceptions, in a highly controlled environment? My point is, who enjoys a highly controlled environment? We love discipline, we love order, we love structure, we thrive. But a highly controlled environment tends to be a stressful one, where you don't feel free to be yourself, but you feel confined to conform. So we can kind of understand this terminology in real life. As we understand and experiencing moving above and below the galactic plane crossing, as can be viewed in the sine wave, we would do well to examine if we see or perceive that we are actually ascending above this time or descending below. If we notice, something that I'd like to add is Aquarius is, I think January 17th and February like 15th or 16th, something of that matter. But it's mid-January to mid-February. And Aquarius is in the winter months, okay? And when we talk about the date of December 21st, 2012, the date of December 1st, 21st refers to the winter solstice. We're in the winter, you know, we're in the winter, where it's cold and it's dark. And we experience life in seasons, right? And we go, when we enter into autumn, we call it fall because we're falling and descending into death, into winter, into darkness. Now, yeah, we have heat and we have electricity and all these things that combat winter. Yes. But if you go outside, winter could kill you, right? You can get the flu and all these things, pneumonia, because, we're not made to just live solely in the cold, and darkness. So my point is winter being associated with darkness, cold, right? Ignorance, death. These things are associated with winter, and our ancestors, they had a lot to worry about when winter came, because, there could be a lot of loss experienced during the winter, when things die, when things are frozen and they're cold, when you cannot grow food, and when you have to be properly dressed and warmed and cared for to survive the winter, right? So, I can go and lay under the sun for years and get, cancer. Yeah, that's true. That can happen. But nothing can kill you quicker than winter, if you're not prepared, right? So we have to understand Aquarius, and this concept of moving even below the galactic equator, as understanding our seasons when Aquarius occurs. It's in winter. So that says a lot. And with the darkening of minds during a time when people are really striving for spiritual freedom and understanding, and, we're moving into what is termed in our world as a winter month, a cold winter, dark time. So, that being said, that's the black and white version of it. But I will add these two things. When we get to Aquarius, we are going through the end of the winter, okay? And we're headed into spring. But we do have to get through the winter to get to spring. But the good news is we're coming into the end of the winter, the end of darkness and cold and all of that stuff, because Aquarius is at the very end of winter. So that could clarify things for us differently. Lastly, I have to share that in the Bible, Noah is basically called into the ark at the very beginning to the day of the time of Aquarius, where I think he's, on the ark for a year, right? So my point is, Noah enters the ark of safety, okay? Before the world is swallowed up by water, and Aquarius is a water sign. And Noah enters the ark at the very beginning of Aquarius. And so that, that also shows us too, that it's a time to enter into the ark, because there could be turbulent waters ahead, right? Turbulent waters ahead, very turbulent, until we get to the end of Aquarius. So these are a few things that we want to consider when we want to determine, what is Aquarius heralding for us? What is it telling us? What is this new age promise that's on the horizon? Now, why did God say, I will never flood the world again? And he gave the sign of the rainbow. And we're entering into the age of Aquarius, and the sign of the rainbow is being thrown everywhere. And of course, that sign of the rainbow is being, it's the six colored rainbow, not the original 7 colored rainbow, is being flagged everywhere to mark homosexuality, right? And so that's associated with, that's them associated in it with, love, right? It's a different kind of love, whatever. But the point is that we're talking about a water sign, and we're talking about God-given Noah the rainbow. We're talking about Noah entering the ark during the time of Aquarius. We're talking about Aquarius being the end of winter. We're talking about, after Noah survived the winter and the ark being, tossed about on the waters that covered the earth, then God gives Noah a sign that's a rainbow, that he will not flood the earth again. And here we are entering the age of Aquarius, a water sign. We're being flooded with information and flooded with confusion and flooded with a thirst for truth. We're being flooded with a lot of things. We are at the peak of the age of information here, and it's getting turbulent and it's getting confusing. And for many of us, we know that it's time to enter the ark of safety from the turbulent waters. And in order to enter that ark, you have to enter through the door of the ark. And so you have to get in line with the truth that is going to save and set you free, the truth that's on the other side of that door in the ark. Okay, so I have to add that in there because these things are relative as we examine the natural and the supernatural, which is what we love to do in the universe of God, right? So something to consider as we examine this age, this mysterious age of Aquarius, where some say it's the age of evil and some say it's the age of enlightenment, and so forth and so on, as we enter the cold, wintry waters of turbulence, right? As we come to the end of a cycle and the beginning of another, right? So, anyhow, did you know that our sun and our solar system spend equal amounts of time above the galactic equator and below it in the span of 12,000 year periods of time? It is during these 12,000 year time spans that we move in and out of ages known to the ancients as golden, dark, bronze, and silver. Now, the 12,000 stands out for a few reasons, but I don't have time to go into it here. I'm going to have to wrap this part 2 up to get into part 3. But when we examine the vision in Daniel, which Daniel is a book in the Bible, and when we examine the vision in Daniel about the man made of different elements, the statue that was in his dream made of different elements, are we being shown a timeline of the ages of man that fit with our golden, dark, bronze, and silver age? Are we being showing a timeline of the ages? Maybe ages pertaining to us somehow, in terms of, prehistoric or pre-Adamant days. And that's my question. I think it's highly likely that this vision in Daniel is very well pointing to a timeline of the ages. Note that it's the dream of a statue, or a vision of a statue made up of all these elements, which represents kingdoms, okay, and ages of time in which these kingdoms will be present on the scene of life. So again, the Bible, having layers of information, you can jump in, preschool, okay, elementary, and you can go to graduate school with the Bible if you're willing to spend the time uncovering. When we come back in part 3, we're going to examine the Age of Aquarius and the galactic plane a little bit more. So please continue on with me on this journey as we go to part 3 of the Age of Aquarius. God bless.